It's 5 in the morning. A metal door closes behind you. The sound echoes down a hallway you'll never forget. You are 27 years old, and from now on, a number. In the coming years, you will learn the rules of a world that most people only see from afar. You will rise within it. You will pay a price for it. The problem is that, in here, surviving isn't the same as winning. That's how it all began. If you enjoy stories about power, survival, and the behind-the-scenes worlds that few people know about, subscribe to the channel. Every week you will live a new life. The officer removes his handcuffs. He doesn't look at you. Nobody here looks at anybody for more than 2 seconds. You enter the ward. 300 men. A constant noise, like a machine that never shuts down. Someone shouts out a number that isn't yours. You turn around anyway. Error. A thin man, tattooed up to his neck, notices. He smiles. Rookies react to any shouting, he says to his teammate beside him. That's good to know. You understand right there the first unwritten rule. Everything you do is being watched. His cell is 2 meters by 3, a thin mattress, a toilet with no privacy, and a cellmate named Renato, who has been there for 11 years. Renato doesn't ask your name, he only asks one thing. Do you owe something to someone out there? You say no. He shakes his head. Good. In here, debt outside becomes a problem in here. You don't sleep on the first night. He hears coded conversations. He hears footsteps. He hears a man crying 3 cells ahead, quietly, so no one else can hear. In the morning, in the courtyard, you learn the second rule. There is a hierarchy, and it has nothing to do with who you were outside of your home. A former police officer is working as a cleaner, cleaning bathrooms, because nobody trusts him. A former businessman who owed millions is isolated because no one knows what he is capable of. And there is a man whom no one confronts directly. They call him the Turk. He is not the greatest, he is not the strongest. But when he passes by, the noise from the ward fades. Renato notices you looking. Don't look at him, she whispers. Looking is asking for attention, and attention here is the most dangerous thing there is. On the 3rd day, someone breaks into his cell during sunbathing time. Turn your mattress upside down. Your box of personal items. Don't steal anything. Just leave a message. Without words. We know where. You sleep. You don't know who it was. You don't know why. But you know what? In here, survival is the only currency that matters. And you've just learned that you don't have any yet. 2 weeks later, a man faints in the courtyard. Seizure. Foam at the mouth. The paramedics are taking a long time to arrive. You were a nurse before you joined. Nobody knows that yet. You act without thinking. You turn his body to the side. You protect his head. You yell for someone to time the crisis. When the unit's doctor arrives, the man is already stable. The doctor asks who did that. You raise your hand. This is the first time anyone here has looked at you with anything other than suspicion. The man who had the seizure is called Bira, and Bira, you discover, is Turk's cousin. The next day, an extra tray of food appears in his cell. No one explains why. Renato understands before you do. You've just gained a debt in your favor, he says. This, in here, is worth more than money. 3 days later, the Turk will send for you. You walk across the courtyard feeling everyone's eyes on you. It will never stop being like this. The Turk is sitting alone at a metal table. You saved my cousin, he says. It's not a question. You confirm. In here, those who know how to take care of people are worth more than those who know how to fight, he says. I have fighters to spare. He offers you protection. He asks for nothing in return. Yet, you accept, because refusing would be more dangerous than accepting. That night, Renato tells you something that changes everything. Protection from the Turk means that you now belong to one side, and whoever belongs to one side has enemies on the other. You just received your first reward, and without knowing it, he bought his first target. A month later, a message is passed from hand to hand until it reaches you. It's not a direct threat. It's worse. It's an invitation. A rival group, displeased with the close relationship between you and the Turk, wants to talk to you alone in the laundromat during downtime. Renato reads the note and becomes serious. If you go, it could be conversation. It could be an ambush, he says. If you don't go, they understand that you're afraid. And fear, here, is an invitation to attack. You spend the night without sleeping, calculating. The next day you decide to go, but not alone exactly. You notify an agent about electrical maintenance at the laundry room at that time. You're not reporting anyone. You're just securing an unwitting witness. When you enter, 3 men are already waiting. The leader, known as the Spaniard, steps forward. "You're walking too close to the Turk," he says. "It bothers people. You keep your voice steady, even with your heart racing. I take care of those who need care. I don't choose sides. I choose who is sick." The agent appears at the door, checking maintenance. The tension breaks. Not because you won, because you survived. The Spaniard stares at you before leaving. Next time there won't be any electrical maintenance. You've just understood something that will stay with you for years to come. Inside here, every choice that protects you on one side exposes you on the other. You still don't know how much this choice will cost. At this moment, would you have left if you could? Answer in the comments. 3 weeks later, the unit's management calls you. There is a shortage of healthcare professionals on the night shift. Someone died of an overdose in the next cell due to a lack of prompt medical attention. They offer you a position in the infirmary, a place of trust, one of the few places in the prison where you would have a key. But there is a condition. To get this position, you need the informal approval of the one who really runs the wing, the Turk. And the Turk, before approving, gives you a task. An inmate is hiding something inside his body and needs medical help to resolve this without the guards noticing. You understand exactly what is being asked. If you help, you become complicit in a scheme within the system. If you refuse, you lose the Turk's protection, and with it, any chance of safety in the wing. You spend the night thinking about Renato, in Spanish, about the note that still echoes in your head. "We know where you sleep." The next day, you find a third option. You treat the prisoner as a doctor, only as a doctor. You resolve his health problem without touching what's hidden, and you inform him, without mentioning names, that he's being watched more closely this week. The message gets where it needs to go. The material disappears from the cell on its own before any search. You didn't betray anyone. You didn't help anyone hide anything. You only prevented a greater tragedy. The Turk understands the gesture as intelligent loyalty, not as weakness. You passed the test without getting your hands dirty, but someone else saw through his scheme, and that person didn't like it at all. You received the key to the inner ward. For the first time since you arrived, you walk down a hallway without feeling the eyes of 300 men on you. The infirmary becomes your territory, and within it, you begin to build something no one expected. Trust from all sides. The guards trust you because you keep the ward calmer. Inmates trust you because you treat everyone equally without taking sides. Even the Spaniard, his old rival, shows up one day with a deep cut on his arm, with no one to turn to. You treat the wound without asking how it got hurt. He watches you silently while you work. "You could have left me bleeding," he says. "I didn't choose to be a doctor to choose who deserves to live," you reply. This changes something between you two. It doesn't turn into friendship. It turns into a rare kind of respect, that of two enemies who recognize value in each other. 3 months later, during a partial rebellion in another wing, you are called to treat wounded from both sides of the conflict, without protection, in the midst of the chaos. You work for 6 hours straight. You stabilize 7 men. You lose 1. When it's all over, the prison administration officially registers his name as an essential collaborator in maintaining internal order. This means reduced sentences. This means privileges. This means, for the first time in months, a light at the end of the tunnel. You achieved this on your own, through determination, sacrifice, and a crisis that only you resolved. But any victory that's too big here at home attracts too much attention, and someone already has their eye on your name. If you've made it this far, leave a like. Most people wouldn't survive that situation. Your reputation as the doctor who doesn't choose sides becomes, without you realizing it, a problem for those who make a living by choosing sides. The Turk is calling you again, this time without any politeness. "You dealt with the Spaniard," he says. That, to many people, seems like betrayal. You explain that you're a doctor, not a soldier, that treating someone is not the same as supporting them. The Turk is listening, but his silence this time is longer than usual. "In this world," he says, "neutrality only exists until the day someone needs you to choose." A week later, that day arrives. A confrontation breaks out between the Turk's faction and the Spaniard's faction. Two men are stabbed simultaneously at opposite ends of the courtyard. You only have time to save one. Renato yells for you to run to the Turk's man. You run to the nearest man, who happens to be next to the Spaniard. You save his life. The other man dies before any help arrives. The Turk doesn't say anything, but from that day on he stops calling you his doctor and starts calling you only by your number. You lost the strongest protection you had. In return, he earned the silent respect of a man who only trusts those who choose life, not sides. But in here, silent respect doesn't protect you from a stab in the back, and someone has already decided that you need to disappear from the equation. A month later, you receive an anonymous note inside the infirmary. In the next crisis, no one will call you in time. You get the message. Someone wants to see you dead, and will let a patient bleed to death just to prove that you're not untouchable. You have two options. Continue treating everyone, knowing that it could cost you your life in the next emergency, or choose a side, for real, for the first time, to guarantee genuine protection. You choose a third way, which is riskier than the other two. You inform an agent, who has trusted you for months, about a blade smuggling scheme circulating in the ward, without mentioning names, only the location. A thorough search takes place 2 days later. Improvised weapons are collected. Tension in the ward drops drastically, but the price is high. Someone realizes that only you had access to that information. In the eyes of some, you've become an informant. Renato warns you for the first time in years with genuine fear in his voice. You just crossed a line of no return. In here, there are people who forgive faction betrayal. Nobody forgives those who talk to us. You did it to save lives. But within these walls, intention never mattered as much as appearance. You know that, from now on, every day is a negotiation for your own survival. The worst is yet to come. 3 weeks later, you are transferred to a special protection wing, near total isolation, a cell alone, sunbathing separately from other inmates at different times for his own safety. You are technically safer than ever, and at the same time, more alone than he had ever been. You saved dozens of lives. You earned reduced sentences. You earned the respect of almost everyone within those walls. But you lost something that no one can give back to you, the ability to trust anyone around you. Renato comes to say goodbye before being transferred to another unit. You don't hug each other. In here, that also has a price. You won, he says, but nobody warned you that winning here is also a form of imprisonment. On the day of his parole hearing, the judge reads his record aloud. Collaboration in crises, conflict reduction, saving lives, information that prevented deaths. Your sentence is reduced. You will be released sooner than expected, but when the final door opens, months later, and you walk through the exit gate, you realize something no one told you before you went in. You learn to survive by observing every gesture, every look, every word before acting. Outside, you continue doing exactly that. You came in as an ordinary man. He left as someone who will never again be able to trust without first calculating the risk. The cell is a thing of the past. The constant surveillance, however, remains. At what point do you think you crossed the point of no return? Answer in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe. And if you want to live another life inside one of the most dangerous worlds ever created, click on the video that's appearing on the screen right now. The next story is even more intense.